Hello, Aquarius. Thank you very much for tuning into this week's read. For the main part of the read, I'm using the Star Tarot by Kathy McLeland. Here's the website for Kathy if you would like it. Feel free to freeze frame if you need to, of course. Supportive Oracle Cards, Energy Oracle Cards by Sandra Ann Taylor. Websites for Sandra. There's a couple Hay House websites here. Feel free to freeze frame and use any of that information if you want it. All Hay House. Hopefully it's on frame. I think it is. Alright. What do we have for Aquarius? I got like this jump of energy all of a sudden. Okay. You got the Seven of Wands. That's a good card for you. If that's holding the line, it is what it is. You're not going to change my mind. I know what I know. A lot of fire going on here, too. Fire can be compatible with Aquarius, depending on what you're dealing with. Depending on what you're dealing with, of course. So, we need to flesh out the mystery. I almost feel like you're putting up with something a little bit. I'm seeing the Moon card show up as your challenge card. Like, something here is a mystery. You don't know what's going on. But you're not moving forward to debunk it. Thing is, Aquarius is really good at figuring out mysteries. So I'm kind of like, I'm perplexed with this one. Like, when you want to, you know how to get to people. You know how to get people to talk, usually. Unless for some reason they just flat out don't talk. But even if they don't talk, how they act and, like, what they're not saying sometimes means a lot. Gestures, body gestures, what they're doing, where they're going, who they're hanging out with. You can figure out a lot just by watching how people act, even if they're not directly telling you things. Why are you not... You're not trying to figure it out, but why? I'm just trying to figure out, like, why would you not want to? You're afraid of what you're going to find, maybe? You got the root chakra here, the red chakra, base chakra, however you want to call it. Once I figure out what's going on, I'm going to have to do something with it. It's kind of like, I'm not really sure what's going on right now, but once I do, I might have to do something with it, and I'm just like, I don't really want to get knee-deep in this. I feel like that's a big piece of it. I don't want to get knee-deep in it. There's a lot of conflict going around in this situation. There's a lot of conflicts. And it's kind of like, you could deal with that, but for some reason you're like, it just feels like it's a mess. It's very problematic. I think that's the thing. From what I understand of problematic, it's kind of like what you do to solve a problem creates two more problems, and then what you do to fix those can create two more problems additionally in each of those. It just becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, and just every time somebody tries to fix it, it just makes it that much more worse. It's kind of like, oh, okay, I fixed the wagon, but what I took from this other thing broke this other thing. Like, I took the parts from this other thing, so the wagon works, but now this doesn't work. So now I fixed that, but now these other couple things don't work. It's just like every time somebody goes to fix the situation, it just seems to make new, bigger problems. It's very problematic. Okay, yeah, we already addressed that, but this is another reason you're not wanting to be a part of this. Because the situation, to stop it from being problematic, we have to bring it back to where it started and admit that it's wrong. Whatever the original problem was, it needs to be finished off. It needs to be completed. It needs to be accepted that it's just flat out wrong. And there's really no fixing it. There's addressing it and accepting it for what it is, and that it's just wrong. And just stop trying to overcompensate it with all these other workarounds. It's like somebody it's like somebody who's in a job and it's like they don't understand the job. It's like putting somebody in an accounting position and they just literally don't understand the concepts of balancing a ledger. They just don't get it. And then on top of that, maybe for some reason, like I have this problem. Sometimes numbers jump or they twitch around. It's not constant, but once in a while it happens, usually when I'm tired. But for some reason, it's just like there's more problems. It's not like, it's almost like, okay, maybe they have some dyslexia. Maybe they have some of that. So we're trying to fix this. We're trying to fix that. Like, but the problem isn't really the dyslexia. They don't understand the concepts. So even if they can see things properly or there's workarounds to see what's really going on, they literally don't get the basic concepts of what's going on. So it's kind of like even working around the dyslexia and making that work out right and giving them a chance with that, they still don't get the basic concepts. And it's hard, but it's kind of like we have to go back to the base root here and go like, wait, this person doesn't understand how to balance a ledger or how the ledger, how, it's got to come to a zero at the end. I worked for somebody like that once. That was so upsetting. To where the person I worked for did not understand that the ledger has to balance at zero and would argue with me about it. I can't even. I feel like that's basic accounting, but I don't know. I'm not even going to go there. But I feel like it's something like that. It has to balance. It was so bad that it was bad. It was so bad. I wasn't even willing to sign the work at the end. I was like, I refused. I was like, I'm not, because they kept messing it up and it wouldn't balance. And I'm like, no, that's not right. It's got to balance to zero. You have to at least have a reason. You have to have you have to show where it's missing and that there's a question. And you got to okay, I can't. I don't know why that was like over 20 years ago, but still it sits in my brain, kind of like, oh goodness. We have to go back to the base, and we have to deal with the base part, and I think this is why you're avoiding this. You're the one who can come back in, point out the truth. The Emperor is a card of truth. Can be very brutal truth. Aquarius can be brutal. Like, if y'all need to, you will. Aquarius is very fluid, in my opinion. Whatever you feel is necessary, you can be very nice and sweet. If you want, you can be very brutal and harsh. Whatever you feel is warranted for the situation, you can adapt left or right to it. You can even go a couple different directions that I'm probably not aware of. It's time to go in and clear it out. Once you step in, I feel like there's some quick changes that have to happen. There are other people who know this, but somebody has to push it forward. Somebody has to push it forward, and I feel like that's probably your role, to push it forward. Other people know this. I get the woman holding a heart with the Two of Wands. Somebody might be emotionally invested in this to where they don't feel like they can push it forward, or for some reason they're having a hard time making that movement forward. But once you do, they'll just kind of go along with it, and they'll back you up on it. They may be unexpected. Once it's done, I feel like everything just kind of goes into place. Because people realize that that's what people have known that's what needs to happen. But people have known this is what needs to happen. They've known, but they needed somebody like you to actually push it forward. They've known. I'm getting the Empress here, almost like people, they felt like they were doing the right thing by not calling it out. But it got so deep, it was so overwhelming and so taxing, that when you finally said, listen, this is ridiculous, bring it back to square one, and get this out of here. Get this all out of here. Go back and let's admit what the actual problem is. Come on. People it's time. They realize it's time. The Empress kind of looks at the whole situation kind of like, well, the Aquarius is calling it out and the Aquarius is right. So let's just go along. Let's just deal with it that way. And they know it needs to be. I don't see you getting a lot of resistance from that. I think that's the point. It's a weird energy. There's been a lot of loss because of this. All the time, all the energy spent, you know, with these all this time and energy making things just more problematic is a lot of wasted effort, but I also feel like people abandoning that really fast. Kind of like all of this that was put into it, they're abandoning it really fast. Because it's kind of like, it's overdue. It's overdue, and it's either accept it now or just waste more time and throw that away too. So it's almost like $500 has been wasted on this situation. We can keep putting more. We can go up to 700. We can go up to 800. We can go farther. But it's just more money that's going to get thrown away. It's more investing time that's just going to get thrown away. So I feel like they accept it and they just make a quick change. They're like, no, Aquarius is right. We've known that Aquarius was right. We just needed somebody to point it out. Also, I feel like people were looking at you in the sense of like, if there was a way to recoup this and to keep the value here, you'd have found it. And the fact that you're saying, listen, you're wasting your time. We've already thrown away $500. How much more do we want to throw away? Go back to square one and get rid of this stuff and start over. And they feel like if there was a way to do this the right way, you'd have found it. If there's a way to recoup that $500, you'd have found it. Because I feel like people looking at you are kind of like, you don't want to throw out that $500 either, but you're like, listen, we've already thrown out $500. Let's stop. Go back to square one. You don't like the idea of throwing out that time and effort either, but before we throw out any more, stop. Go back. You're calling it out. For some reason, they're just waiting for you to be the one who's doing it. And then again, people, these two cards together are very interesting. You're first going to notice people recoil. They're just going to kind of recoil, re-get their bearings together, realign where they're going to go, and then they're going to move forward fairly quickly. They want to move on from it. There's not a lot of resistance. But there will be a moment where they're just kind of like not doing much. And then once they get their bearings together, they'll set out in the better direction. And there they go. It's a weird one. I don't know. To me, it's weird. But I do feel like for you, this will move on a lot quicker the sooner you address it. Once you address it and help get it back online, it'll move on a lot faster than you expect. I do feel that too. All right, I think we're there. All right, I'm going to shut this down here. I hope that helps. Thank you for watching. If you'd like a direct reading from me, shoot me an email, jamesforastral@gmail.com. That's James, the number 4, astral@gmail.com. If you're interested in the donation information, that's below with the same email. Thank you again for watching, and have a great day.